I owe a lot to this guy. So let's start with my younger self. Like, generally speaking, I wasn't the most ambitious kid. I mean, I did have ambitions, but a lot of the time they were sort of crushed by other people around me. Not in like a negative way, but it was just sort of like, you know, you had this expectation and stuff, and people would sort of joke around about my ambitions and stuff like that. And though I didn't necessarily let people know, like, it did kind of hurt. And it kind of sort of forced me to like shelter myself in. Like, I've actually got a YouTube channel from a long time ago where I used to make my own content and stuff when I was like 11 years old. But I sort of stopped that because I remember a couple of my friends and stuff pulled up and they would like sit there and laugh at the videos. And I mean, they were intended to be funny, but for some reason I would always take that so personally. And this sort of comes into where I think Jim Rohn really helped me out. And like, I don't really know the back history of the guy or like really what he contributed or whatever, but I watched a lot of his lectures, and based off his philosophy, I've changed everything that I've been doing recently. Like, I started reading, which I personally would never do. You know, he made me really think about the present moment and making sure that I would take advantage of everything that I've got in my grasp right now and not focus on the stuff that I didn't have in control. Like, for example, actually my biggest ambition after finishing school was to get into politics, because I was really good at debating. Like, I was in the debate society and stuff like that, and that was sort of what I thought I was going to get into, until I realized like I wasn't really going to make a change to other people's lives if I did go down that route. And like, no offense to anybody who does want to go down that route, but I realized like if I wanted to feed people's mouths, metaphorically and literally, like, you know, maybe telling other people to do it for me isn't the best route. Maybe I should just go out there and do it. Like, if I want to make a charity, or I want society to be more charitable, instead of trying to force society to conform to what I wanted, why not just make the charity? And that was what I learned from him. He talked a lot about like steering your boat in the right direction. He said, why are you letting other people pick your future for you? There's 1,000 different futures that you could probably think of that aren't necessarily what you want. You know, other people might think they're a good future, but they're not really what you want. So why are you letting them pick for you? Why not just make your own future? And since sort of having that idea, I've really taken a lot more action into doing what I wanted to. Like, I started studying to do some computing stuff in work. You know, I started doing this YouTube channel because I finally realized, like, who cares if people make fun of me or whatever for this type of content? I want to help people, and ideally, actually, the reason why I talk about my younger self is because I want to reach people that were like me before watching Jim Rohn and all these other people, before really having an ambition, because it's not a really nice place to be. You don't realize it. When you're in that place, it feels like everything's fine. You know, you have your fun, you play your video games with your friends, but when you sit down and sort of think about it, you've progressed nowhere. You're not any closer to where you want to be. You're not further away either. You're just at square one. Like, you've never even gotten started in the places that you wanted to achieve. And here's the weird thing. The biggest politicians in the world are human beings. You know, the richest people in the planet are human beings. If your excuse is that you weren't born into wealth, well, you know, 80% of all millionaires are self-made. You know, I think in America, something like 5 to 10% of all people living in America are millionaires. And when I realized that, I just thought, wow, like, half of the reason we don't have what we think we could have is because we just don't try. I genuinely didn't even try because I thought there was no point. To a certain extent, for some reason, my mind would tell me, like, you had this blockade. And Jim Rohn really like talked about this as well. Like, your future is going to really be reflected by your belief. And if you believe that it's impossible, then why are you even going to try? Right? Like, let's think about this. If you don't have a personal goal in the gym, you're just going to go to the gym and do the things that feel good to you. Like, the things that you like doing. In my case, I really like bench. So I'm going to have this big ass chest, no back, and skinny legs. If you have a bit of direction, you're going to be like, well, actually, I go to the gym because I want a six pack. And you'll realize, like, even though I like doing the bench, maybe I should do a bit more of cardio, a couple ab workouts here and there. The guy was really wise, and it boggles my mind. You know, he talked a lot about charity. I'm going to link a video in the description about one of his personal lectures, because I think everybody should really watch one. They're about 3 to 4 hours long, and I know this is like promotion, but generally from a deep place in my heart, you're struggling right now with motivation, you don't have a sense of direction, or if you do, you can never seem to really feel passionate enough to go do it, I'd say go watch one of his videos. Like, he even helped with my relationship in some ways, because he realized like how important it would be to be in the moment and attentive to people, you know, like, and not just be constantly pondering about different things. Like, you know, I was addicted to CSGO essentially, and even when I was sitting with other people and I was talking to them, I couldn't really ever relate or communicate to them because I was too busy thinking about yesterday's video game or what video game I was going to play when I get home, and it gets lonely. If you're not there with the person in the present, they feel like they're being ignored, and you think that you're just unlikable because they're not talking to you, but it's just because they feel ignored by you. On the bright note, like, honestly guys, I honestly think that all of this is just a choice. Like, you can choose to have a different perception of life and be attentive and present and do things that you like doing, and even have a good chance at achieving what you want to achieve. But none of that's ever going to happen unless you try. And that was the biggest concept that I learned, to be honest, from Jim Rohn. You know, he had this point where it's like, a lot of people are on the fence about a lot of things. And he said sometimes, after a certain period of time, it doesn't matter which side of the fence you get off on. If you get on off the wrong side of the fence, there's going to be something to learn. And if you get off on the right side of the fence, then you got what you wanted. And I was like, right. So the only negative action that we can have is no action. Like, as long as you're doing something, you could either learn from it or you know, get your success as long as it's related to what you're doing. But I'll never know unless I actually start trying to do something about it. You know, a real big message of his. Again, I'm just going to recommend it again. I can't recommend watching his video enough. You know, this is quite an unfiltered video, and I hope you guys really enjoy it. And I think, you know, if you haven't seen Jim Rohn or any of the stuff that he has done, you should really go watch it. So, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.